the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, this is the EntreLeadership podcast, where I take calls from leaders like you about what it takes to win at any stage of your business and leadership. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host, with over 30 years of experience in the trenches, in the ditches, shoveling with you. Know what it feels like? I did this stuff today, all day, before I turned on the microphone. So we're glad you're here. This is not a think tank. This is a practitioner. I actually do this crap. That's where this comes from. We're glad you're here. We appreciate you joining us. If you want to participate in the show, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave us a voicemail at 844-944-1070 with your question about your business, particularly your small business, and we will try to get back to you and make you one of the callers. 844-944-1070, or go to EntreLeadership.com/ask, and of course you can leave the question there. Ibu and the team will get with you, get you figured out, and help you get on the air here, and we'll try to help you move to the next stage in your career. Anna's starting today off in Kansas City. Hi, Anna. Welcome to the EntreLeadership podcast.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Honor to be with you. How can I help?
Definitely. So I am the admin department supervisor of a workers' comp insurance company. Our gross revenue is around roughly $65 million. I personally have 6 direct reports for me. And my question is, I'm an extremely young leader that's fairly new to the company. I've only been here for about 18 months, only 11 months in my current position. And I just want to know how I demonstrate good leadership to a team that is several decades older than I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How old are you?
24.
Okay. All right. Have you ever had a leader that you considered to be a world-class leader?
Yes. My current boss.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those weird questions to ask.
Okay, so he or she's a great leader, right?
Yes.
And what makes them a great leader in your mind? What is it? Why would you call them a great leader? What is it they do that demonstrates leadership?
They always have the heart of a teacher and always available. And they always say there's, no such thing as a dumb question, and just they're cheering me on from the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they're there to help you, to serve you, to knock down blockers that they can knock down that you can't knock down. And that's servant leadership, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll work.
Okay.
I think that's what you ought to do. I think it's perfect. And so, because listen, they don't care how old you are unless you act stupid, right?
Correct.
I mean, but if you're there helping them and you're truly interested in them and you're curious and you're asking questions, how can I help? How can I serve? And you give them the credit when things go right and you take the blame when things go wrong. We hand blame up and credit down, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good leader. If something goes wrong, it's the leader's fault.
Correct.
Because even if someone that works for you broke it, you hired them or you kept them and allowed them to break it. So it's your fault. So, if it goes wrong, it's your fault. If it goes right, it's their fault. They get the credit. You knock down blockers for them when there's some kind of a issue coming up. You go to your boss and say, hey, my folk over here got an issue, and I need you to help me take care of it for my folk. You take care of your people, right? And so you're always taking up for them. You're sticking up for them. And you care about them personally. You learn about them personally. You ask lots of questions of how they do their job and what do they think you can do to help them the most. And nobody's going to like that. Now, what on the other side of the coin, what could you do that would mess it up?
That's a great question.
Well, think about the worst boss you ever had. What'd they do?
Oh, they were horrendous. They screamed and yelled. They sucked at communicating, and they were just not a good person at work or in their personal life.
Yeah, they had no character. They cared only about themselves. They're horrible communicators. They were bosses pushing people around, not leaders pulling and helping.
Okay.
Bosses push, leaders pull. Okay. And so just don't be that person, right? So, which I don't think it's capable for you. You're sweet and you got good character and you're a hard worker. People that have bad character don't call and ask a question like you asked because it never occurs to them that they're the problem, right? And so, you know, I already know you're in the good camp. And so that we know, and you know that. So you're not going to mess that up. But, you know, coming in throwing your weight around when you don't have any weight is a bad idea. You know, and that nobody wants that. And so if you just go in and just, you know, you just kind of sit around the edges of the room and ask questions and figure out how you can help them get their work done the easiest. And if they need support from something, you're there to help them. And if they've got a sick kid, you make sure they get taking care of their kid. You know, their grandmother passes away, you make sure that Petty Cash sends flowers over there to the funeral home. And, you know, you actually care about the human beings on the planet. And, man, that's what small business does the best. Because corporate America pisses on their people, you know?
Yeah.
And so you get the opportunity to go in there and just be a human being to a human being. And it sets you up. That's the brand differentiator for small business. We actually treat people right. Most of us, anyway. And so, you know, you're that kind of a person, and you're already going to be a world-class leader. You're at 24, and you're asking these questions. I was 24. I didn't even know to ask the question. So you're way ahead. You're going to be amazing as a leader. You're going to do really, really good. So very, very cool. Congratulations, hero. I'm proud of you. Yeah, and you keep that level of humility in how you're approaching this. That's a level 5 leader characteristic, humility. So that's the perfect way to doing this. All right, all you old leaders that are so smart, you probably ought to listen to Anna. I think she just taught you. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast. Here's a math refresher. There are only 24 hours in a day, so you and your team need to streamline time-consuming tasks to focus on the activities that make money. Smart businesses are realizing that to reduce headaches as they scale, they need NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform. With NetSuite, you can reduce IT costs because it's cloud-based. You can cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one source of truth. It's a big deal. And you improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, saving time and cutting manual tasks and errors. So join the more than 37,000 smart companies like Ramsey Solutions that have done the math and are boosting their efficiency with NetSuite. And right now, you can download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to drive the right behaviors for your business. Absolutely free at netsuite.com/Ramsey. That's netsuite.com/Ramsey to get your own KPI checklist. If you're struggling to know the right next step for your team, well, then you're in good company. Most business owners deal with seasons of uncertainty. Seasons? I thought it was days, every day. But anyway, doesn't mean you have to keep blindly stumbling along from one obstacle to the next. I know how to get you from where you are to where you want to be in 10 years. It's called the EntreLeadership system. And it's the roadmap that takes the guesswork out of business growth. So you can build the life and the business that you want where you're running your business instead of it running you. If you'd like to learn more about the EntreLeadership system and how to solve the right business problems at the right time in the right way, go to EntreLeadership.com/system. That's EntreLeadership.com/system. I am Dave Ramsey. Thank you for joining us, America. You can call us and be part of the program at 844-944-1070. Leave a voicemail. We would love to hear from you, and we'll get you on here as a caller. Blake is with me. Blake is in Missouri. Hi, Blake. Welcome to the EntreLeadership Podcast.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you this afternoon.
Sure. How can I help?
So a little background about me. I'm a full-time W-2 employee, and my wife and I own and operate a small business on the side, and we have no employees. We make handcrafted waterfowl decoys, and last year our gross revenue was $88,000. My question for you today is to see if you could go into detail about a group you were involved in. If I'm not mistaken, it was called the Eagles. I've recently had the desire to dive deeper into Scripture and would love to find a group of guys who also want to grow in their faith, while also growing their business and leadership skills. So I was curious if you had any wisdom to share on how to structure something similar.
Okay. Well, I mean, the principle behind it is, or behind having a group that you hang out with, is that everyone should always remember you become who you hang around with. Charlie Tremendous Jones used to say that 5 years from today, you'll be the same person you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. And so if you run around with people who are, whatever they are, positive or negative, you're going to find yourself, the more time you spend with them, mimicking their behavior. It's very hard for a human being not to do that. So once I deposited that piece of information into my brain, then I need to be intentional, which is what you're doing with this call, about who I'm hanging around with. Now, if you meet with a bunch of guys who are the best guys on the planet and do a Bible study for 1 hour a week, but you hang out with a bunch of deadbeats the rest of the time, you're still going to be a deadbeat. 1 hour a week isn't going to fix it, okay? Don't misunderstand. So it's the overall idea of I can be kind to people but not spend immense amounts of time with people that I don't want to be like, okay? So I don't want to run. I don't want to run with that group. I don't have to be snobbish or arrogant or anything towards them, but I just don't spend the majority of my time with that kind of a person because I'm going to become like them, and I don't want to be like that. So anyway, then once I knew that, the first thing I did was I joined a formal Bible study on leadership that was taught in our area. It was a 2-year program. We read, 40 books in 2 years, memorized a bunch of scriptures, and had a formal accountability system with guys that wanted to study biblical leadership. And it was a curriculum, okay? That may or may not be available in your area, something like that. But that's the first thing I did. Out of that group, I really started seeing the value of a structured, regular meeting with people I wanted to be like. Okay, because that first group was more of a learning, like I was going to class, but I was going to class with like-minded people and formed relationships with like-minded people during that time. So it scratched the itch initially. Then I came out of that, and I didn't have that weekly update with my guys because that ended. It was a 2-year curriculum, and so three of us that were in that group together said, hey, we're going to do this on purpose, but we're just going to make it up. And it doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's just going to be we're going to call it a Bible study, and we'll read some scripture, but we'll also probably read some great books. And that's when we formed the Eagles. And what we did there was, at that point in my life, I was already a teacher. I was already doing this. And so almost all of the meetings I was in or situations I was in around a table, I was the one there to give information. And I knew if I didn't get myself in a situation where I was filling rather than just pouring out, that I was going to have a problem. So I thought, I've got to get guys that are as successful or more successful than I am in their chosen field, okay, to where they're going to add stuff to the room without me being the only one adding to the room. You see what I'm saying? I didn't want to be the leader of the group. I wanted to be a member of the group. And so I just made a list of people that I knew and or knew of. Some of them I didn't have a close personal relationship. I just knew who they were. And I reached out to 12 guys that were amazing in their areas, and they were all people that I knew that had a walk with God because I'm a Christian, and that's what I wanted to be running around with that. And I was going to form a Bible study, so it'd be inconsistent to do that otherwise. So anyway, and I was honestly, Blake, some of these guys were like way beyond me in terms of success level, and I was a little intimidated by the whole process, and I was really surprised, pleasantly, that all of them came. Every single one of them said yes. Because I figured some of them would go, oh, no, I'm too busy, or you're just a goober, go away, or I figured somebody, and all of them came. And what I figured out, it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with this thing that we all, those of us that want to have growth, personal growth in our life, we all have this void, and when someone presents us an option to fill that void, we jump on it. And so, because guys just don't do this very well. Ladies do it better than guys do. this idea of I'm going to have a group, I'm going to have a posse, I'm going to have a gang, and not a bunch of parasites. I'm talking about people that add value to your life. And so they all came because the idea was good, not because it was, I get to be with Dave, because it really wasn't that at all. Truthfully, it wasn't. And so that group, we started reading. We would read about a book a month. And I read a whole bunch of books I would have never read in my life, so it was good in that, because there's some of it's awful. But they were theology books, and they were just horrible. But I ingested things into my brain and my spirit that I otherwise wouldn't have, because I put a structure in place. And we had some really good, healthy arguments in that room every Wednesday morning. And in those days, I did a Fox and Friends appearance at 6 a.m. every Wednesday morning by Fiber. And so I would go in and do the Fox appearance, and then we walk across the hall to my conference room, and that's where we would meet. So it was very structured into my schedule as well. And so we did that for 14 years. And it was 3 pastors of large churches running mega operations and having operational issues and all the stuff that goes with running a big church, which is a dadgum circus. And, 2 or 3 authors in there, 2 or 3 people that were just business people that nobody even knew who they were hardly, except I knew their gross revs were outstanding. And so I just put eagles, because eagles don't naturally flock, turkeys do. And so that's why we called it the eagles. You have to gather eagles. They don't naturally flock. They don't come in flocks. And so I put the room full of rock stars, full of eagles. And that group, one of the guys passed away after 14 years, and it lasted about another year after that, and it had run its season. And so, and then I've formed several different guys groups that are all at my behest, and aren't quite as formal as that. But those 2 or 3 things, I'm always going to have men, in my case, men in my life that are close to me. The 6 of them are going to carry my casket if I go before them. I'm going to have those guys right there with me, and they need to be, in my case, I've been married 43 years. All the guys in my group right now have been married one time, and all been married for 30 or 40 years. And it's not that I'm mad at you if you've been divorced. I just need guys around me that manage to pull this thing off, and that kind of stuff. So all of that's the whole thing. That's all I did. And then a couple of my guys that were in that group got divorced after long marriages. So that was weird. But we didn't throw them out. I mean, we just walked through with our brothers, walked through the pain they were going through. And so we're not lacking in grace. That wasn't the point. But, so we're looking for people of character. We're looking for people of shared values. We're looking for people that have competency at levels we don't even have, because I'm going to become who I hang around with. And that was the idea. Today in EntreLeadership, we've got advisory groups for those of you that are plugged into that. And it's somewhat modeled after that, in that what we do is we put together businesses that are of like mind or like geography or like industry, and they're solving the same problems at the same time. And so you've got a group of people with shared experiences, and a coach is watching over that in the process there. So the advisory groups are very, very effective for accountability, for encouragement, for teaching, in the same sense that the Eagles group was. And so we've got that. If you want to plug into it in the EntreLeadership system, it's real easy. You go, okay, you're at the treadmill stage, and here's what you need to be doing. And we're going to talk you through every bit of that, and that's how this whole process works. So you can form your own, but you just have an idea of what it is you're wanting to accomplish with the group. The first group was about teaching. The second group was about personal growth and fellowship and accountability with people at the same level or higher than me. The third groups are more informal, and they're more about social gatherings and just friendship and being there for each other. But still, you're going to become who you hang around with. So just choose carefully who you're spending time with, because that's how it's going to work out. That's how it goes. Blake, you're a smart man for asking that question. I'm honored that you thought I would know the answer. I don't know that I know the answer. I know my answer. That's what I did, and it worked really, really well. I'm really sure that Ramsey's partly where it is right now because of that whole concept right there. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast. Welcome back to the EntreLeadership Podcast. We're glad you're here. Hey, listen, in the show notes, you can click a link that says, what is Transformational Leadership? It is one of our blogs there, and it's a really good article on transformational leadership. Now, that does, when I say it out of my own lips, when I say it right now, it sounds like corporate mumbo jumbo. Transformational leadership. I was like, oh, God, shoot me, right? I'm getting ready to go to the most boring seminar in the world. That's what I think when I heard that. But if you actually think about the words, leadership that causes the team to transform. Romans 12:2 says, be not conformed to this world. Don't be normal, in other words, but be transformed. How do you do that? By the renewing of your mind. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. New things into your brain causes transformation and causes you to not be normal like everybody else. You don't want to be normal. Normal is average, mediocre. Why would I want to be normal? I don't want to be dull. I want to be shiny. What have I got to do? Well, I've got to renew my mind. I've got to do different things. How do I become a leader then that facilitates, creates an environment where transformation occurs, a transformational leader? What is transformational leadership? Well, it transforms not only the team, but it transforms the culture, it transforms the business, and it's based on a leader that's built trust and respect within their team. When we think about a transformational leader, someone that means they're visionary. It means they're trustworthy, worthy of trust. They're decisive. They're loyal. They're disciplined. They're passionate. They care deeply. They're influential because they're trustworthy, decisive, loyal, and disciplined. They're service-oriented. They're a servant leader. They're eager to listen. They've got some personal charisma. It doesn't mean they're loud, but there's something about them. They're driven. And in the middle of all that, they're humble. And humble is not some little wimpy, wet dish rag. That's not what humble is. C.S. Lewis says that humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. That's all humility is. It's other-centered rather than self-centered. And you have to be that to be a high-quality leader. You have to be looking across the table at the person you're working with and how can I help this person get better? That's a transformational leader. Winston Churchill, Great Britain's famous prime minister, one of my faves out there, one of his greatest examples of leadership is found in his now famous speech at Harrow School, 1941, where he rallied the nation with his words, never give in, never give in, never, 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 nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense, never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy, never quit, never quit, never quit. That's visionary. That's inspiring. That's charisma. That's a transformational leader. With his sheer force of nature, personality, he was one of the things that held Great Britain together during that time. With the onslaught of the bombs coming out of Germany and just bombing London into oblivion during that time. And other cities just about off the map. But Churchill's just never quit, never quit, never quit. And he picked up his top hat and cane and walked off the podium. It was one of the shortest commencement exercises ever done and one of the most effective. Pretty cool. We had Condoleezza Rice speak at one of our EntreLeadership Summits a few years ago. Got to spend a little time with her, and a very impressive and accomplished lady. Amazing, amazing. And the former Secretary of State says that what is important is influence. She says power is nothing unless you can turn it into influence, causing people to do something that they hadn't done. That's transformation. And so one of the things this article outlines, and you need to get the article now, it's in the show notes, and listen to the whole thing, Transformational Leadership, is it goes over the 4 I's of transformational leadership. Inspirational motivation. They inspire, they motivate, they cast a vision clear for their team. Individualized consideration. Transformational leaders know their people matter most, and it's their job to believe in them and encourage them. Intellectual stimulation. Transformational leaders encourage creativity and know when to challenge traditions. Shoot the sacred cows, because they will be in the hallway mooing. Shoot them. Idealized influence is the 4th. Transformational leaders lead by example. They walk the walk, not just the talk. These leaders are amazing role models. The work ethic of a leader like this is bar none. You cannot outwork them. You cannot. It's impossible. And they have amazing levels of passion too. So, what does transformational leadership look like, and to what extent do you line up with it? And what do you need to do to up your game? Well, let's go to the show notes and click that article, read the whole thing, but that ought to wet your whistle anyway. It's a pretty incredible topic. What is transformational leadership? Click the show notes, read the article, and become that. Ta-da! Just like that. So it's all a choice. You get to decide. You get to choose if you want to be one or not. None of these things are taught in school, and you're not born with any of these things. They're all learned skills, learned character qualities, learned processes. Changes everything. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast. Hey guys, thanks for your reaction to this show. I took it over about 18 months ago, and first time ever I've done the EntreLeadership Podcast, and we've been just taking calls from you guys. The reaction has been extremely positive. Thank you. Our ratings, our views, our downloads, all those kinds of things are way up. We appreciate you. Help us out by subscribing and following and sharing the show. Tell people about it. Clip a link and cut it out and paste it and send it to somebody in a video. I don't care. Share, like, subscribe, leave a nice 5-star review. All of those things help us, and we really appreciate the numbers of you that are doing that. If you want to be on the show, call us at 844-944-1070. Leave a voicemail. And, hey, we'll get back with you and try to figure out if we can put you on the show and talk to you about your life and your business. It's what we do here, and we love it. All right, Andrew is in Athens, Georgia. Hi, Andrew. Welcome to the EntreLeadership Podcast.
Hello, Dave. We are in the finishing business for other manufacturers. I am the CEO. We are doing about $15 million in revenue.
15 or 50?
15.
Okay. What are you finishing?
Manufacturing parts that other companies make.
Like you you're putting a coating on them, or you're polishing them? What are you saying?
Yes, we put a coating on them.
Okay. All right. I'm catching on. Okay. Cool. Good for you.
Yeah. I've heard you reference an ingenious concept years ago of a sinking fund, and how, like, if you needed a $100,000 roof in 10 years, you would put away $10,000 a year for the next 10 years, almost financing it to yourself at a 0% interest rate is the way I thought of it. But I thought it was ingenious. I have a goal to pay off our business debt and run the company debt free. The challenge we have is if we keep the cash in the company as sinking funds, it increases our tax liability, and we need extra money for the tax bill.
No, it doesn't either.
Oh, okay.
If it's profit, what kind of company? An LLC or a sub-S or what?
S Corp.
S Corp. Okay. So if you keep the money in the company, if you make a profit, you pay taxes on it.
Correct.
Period. Whether you leave it in the company or whether you take it home. Doesn't change anything if you take it home.
That's correct. I guess
What else would you do with it if you didn't save it?
Well, I guess, so I've got some partners. The question became, if we left it in the company, then we would have a tax bill, without the money to pay the tax individually.
Oh, well, I just disperse enough to pay the taxes. Is that the problem? Okay, so you leave $100,000 in there, but that creates $30,000 in taxes for the partners. So I distribute $30,000 to the partners to pay their tax bill. So you end up with only 70.
Gotcha.
Net in the company, because you got to pay taxes on profits in America. I mean, it's just what we have to do.
Right.
There's no way to do retained earnings in small business without paying your taxes on them.
Right.
And so, because Congress hates small businesses, and they've never fixed this. Oh, we love small businesses, but you keep pissing on us all the time, so we don't believe you. So, it's impossible for small businesses to keep profits, to turn them back into the business a year later without paying taxes on them. There's no way to do it. That's not that smart anyway. And so, you're going to pay taxes. But like if we keep $1 million in Ramsey this year, that lands on me. I got to pay $1 million in personal taxes, or taxes on $1 million of income. And so I'm not paying that. I'm taking that out of that $1 million, and so I net out 700 or so, or in my case, more like 600. But yeah.
Gotcha. That's the missing piece.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it doesn't change anything to run debt on it or something. I mean, it's just the aggravation of, if I distribute the money and take it home, well, I've got the money in my pocket to pay taxes with, and the money's all taxable. If I leave it in the business, the money's all taxable. But what your point is that it becomes a tax burden on the individual then for your partners, and because they get the tax bill for money they didn't get in their pocket. That's what you're running into, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I thought I understood it. Okay. All right. So it really doesn't have anything about running debt free. It's just aggravating to save up to pay cash for something, a bigger item, when it's over a calendar year.
Right.
Yeah. That's how that works out. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Good question, my man. Thank you for calling in. Sounds like you guys got a great business going on down there in Georgia, man. Keep it up. We need people like you guys in America. You are what makes this country great. You are a hero, man. That's how that works. All right, folks, remember, better a weary warrior than a quivering critic. This world needs more high-quality leaders, so take courage and lead. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thanks for listening to the EntreLeadership Podcast.